I've noticed one pattern in every successful entrepreneur, enlightened spiritual guru, record-breaking athlete, happy married couple, or any other person that we have looked up to. Now, what is this pattern? Focus. Because I've heard at least one person from each of the categories that I just listed mention that focus is the key to whatever they have achieved. So after burning through books on happiness, performance, spirituality, philosophy, anything related to life enjoyment in general, I think I found the answer. The key to maximum life enjoyment, that is, with a byproduct of success in your endeavors. A person can make himself happy or miserable regardless of what is actually happening outside just by changing the contents of consciousness. This is a quote from the book Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. I quote this book all the time because it goes over the psychology behind the flow state. The flow state, some of you know what it is. A lot of people associate it with deep work. But if you've studied philosophy, spirituality, ancient wisdom, whatever it may be, they talk about flowing with life. They talk about things that hint that they are talking about what people now call the flow state. Even spiritual gurus with presence and being at one with what life is, being at one with the moment, they are hinting at some form of a flow state there. And I really believe that the book Flow ties that all together, or at least helps you make those connections if you have previously studied that stuff. Focus is controlled consciousness, or it is controlling the contents of your consciousness, what composes your attention, or what fills your attention. So when the contents of your consciousness, or when your attention is absorbed in something that you can make sense of in a positive light, then your life typically feels pretty positive and pretty happy. And a side tangent here is it's just that, it's perception, where if you are focused, hyper-focused on something negative, you feel negative. But this is why some people are so big on gratitude, is that if you can be grateful, you can shift your perspective, you can shift or change your perception of whatever you are focused on into a positive light, reframing positive vibes all the time, whatever it may be, then you feel happier. I want you to think of your mind as a supercomputer. Your computer's ability to process information depends on a few things, but I want you to bring your attention to RAM, or Random Access Memory, RAM. Gamers know this well, because RAM is one of the most important things that determines the performance of whatever program you have open, or even your computer as a whole if you have too many programs open. Can you see where I'm going with this? So the more RAM, or space, or memory that you use up by having so many different tabs, programs, software open at the same time, your performance is going to slow. And this is no different from your focus, or what you hold in your attention. Think of your attention as the RAM, because humans, this is actually a thing, humans can process 10 to 50, I've heard different numbers like 126, whatever. We can process 10 to 50 bits of conscious information per second. And that means over our lifetime, we can process a few billion bits of information. So the enjoyment of our lives it consists of how we fill that information with where we place our consciousness, or our attention. What we hold in our conscious attention for those however many billion bits of information that we can process with our attention determines the overall quality of our life. Now, this is a fun little fact that we'll dive into in another video, but the unconscious mind, so that was the conscious mind, can process 10 to 50 bits of information, but the unconscious mind, it can process, or it can manage something like 11 billion bits of information a second. Like, I'm talking and my hand's over here doing this, that's unconscious. So everything, it's super interesting, and we'll dive into it at some point. But most people are living life with multiple high performance demand programs or tabs open in their head at all times. Now, most people live with multiple high demand, performance draining tasks or tabs or software running in their heads that is draining their creative potential, or at least limiting it. So things like thoughts about past mistakes, open loops of tasks or reminders that you haven't written down or gotten done. Maybe you're thinking about stressful things that you have to deal with in the future, or even desires or urges of hunger or the want for entertainment or just something to fill your boredom, or maybe even an internal cry to break free of the conditioned life that we are living. The modern mind has its attention split in infinite directions by default. Maybe not by default, but through conditioning and societal programming and cultural stuff and what we were taught growing up, what we accepted as belief, what we accepted as law, when it's just made up. We made everything up. We made up language. We created the world that we live in. We wouldn't be able to communicate with each other if this wasn't a thing. So it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it's gotten a bit out of hand, especially with technology, social media, and other things that are perpetuating it. And you need to be armed or educated on how you can deal with it and kind of and manage your focus. So rather than living in the present with singular focus and a worry-free mind, we are the opposite, living in a false reality created by split attention. Now, the mind tends toward disorder. It's called entropy. So unless we order the mind or order what is in our consciousness, then it just happens by default. Our attention is split if we don't come at it from a conscious lens or a mindful lens to control and just go about life non-robotically or mechanically, letting it control us rather than us having a sense of control over it. We need to learn to control our consciousness, aka focus. So here are 8 steps to reclaiming that focus. But before we get started, here's a little visual because I like to create these, and this can possibly, form some mental connections to see what I mean here and how your attention can actually split between multiple things rather than one. So the first step is to choose a lagging area in your life, because 1, you are as strong as your weakest link, right? 2, the lagging areas of our lives are going to suck the most attention. They are going to bring your attention to them when you least expect it, because you're going to be doing something that you're already strong at, and then something's going to pop into your head and it's like, oh, I need to fix that, or I need to, I'm not well versed enough in this area of my life, or this area is straggling, there's a bunch of problems there, I don't want to deal with those, and then you get sucked into that attention trap. So think, what is an area of my life that has a lot of problems that if they were solved would dramatically boost my quality of life? Is it money? Is it your relationships? Is it your social situation? Is it your mental health, your self-esteem, your fitness, your physique? What is it? So step number 2 is to gain clarity on the fundamentals. So I want to make a distinction between the basics, fundamentals, or principles, and tactics, hacks, and other things like that. So fundamentals drive results. Levers, right? You want to move levers. You want priorities. You want things that you want to do, the things that get the most results, right? So that's what the fundamentals are. Tactics, on the other hand, they can further drive results, but only once the fundamentals are nailed down, systemized, habitual. Because that's the thing. Fundamentals move levers time and time again. They actually help you make progress time and time again. Tactics are where the things open up the potential for traps, or even failure, or just other things. Usually you aren't making progress because you aren't focused on the fundamentals, or your attention is so split that you can't take action on the fundamentals. An example being the latest get rich quick scheme, or something of that nature, where it's like, make $1 billion in 5 seconds with crypto, like the latest shitcoin. And in reality, it's like, you know how to make money. You go out, you create a product or service, you attract people to it, and attracting people to it takes time, especially if you're doing something like building an audience, creating content, all of that other stuff. You need to move the levers. So in the case of business, or in case of making money, you need 1, to create an offer, stop worrying about a landing page or even a personal website or even your LLC for now until you're making money. Focus on building a product or service, digital or physical product. Service, I would usually recommend starting with that, which for a beginner would be something like freelancing, agency, even like coaching if you're into fitness, or other things like that. And don't let limiting beliefs split your attention here. If you want to make money, focus on those fucking things and just do them. So that's actually, you can see how the fundamentals start to like branch over into things with this, because with business, you need an offer, product or service, and traffic. Just being able, like, you need people, right? People. So think of that in the case of relationships or dating, right? If you aren't, I'm a guy, so I'm going to speak in terms of a guy. If I'm not attracting women, there's one of two problems. One, I'm not either high value enough, I'm not attractive enough. There's something that is preventing me from attracting the person that I want to attract, right? But two, the other problem could be is that I'm just not around women, right? I don't have people. Like my product that is, like, let's say I polish my product, like I become the best person ever fucking imaginable. And like if I don't go to where the people that I want to date are, how in the world can I expect to get a date? Even like online dating, right? Whatever it may be. If I'm not going to coffee shops, like wherever people hang out nowadays, I don't even know. But you get the point, right? Offer, traffic. It's one or the other, fix it. So step number 3 is create an ability-based goal. And this is opposed to a vanity-based goal. But I want to make a distinction here where more followers, more money, a better physique, or other kind of show numbers aren't a bad thing. They're not a bad goal to have, but it shouldn't be your main priority. Why? Because that is kind of, the perception is out of your control. That is not intrinsic, right? A vanity-based goal is dependent on a relationship with somebody else, right? You feel good, or you are doing something for the sake of having someone perceive you in a better light, whether it be how I look, like whether I look like a Greek god, or whether I have 8 billion followers. Now, again, I'm saying this isn't a bad thing. It's actually necessary in many cases. And like if you want social proof online, you need a good amount of followers or some kind of credibility. If I want to not be written off completely by, let's say, women, then I need to at least look like I'm somewhat healthy, right? And try to groom myself in a way that is attractive to them, because that's what grabs the attention. That's what gets them in the door with me. So vanity-based goals are they're more out of our control than you would think. But ability-based goals that are intrinsic, like going to the gym for the sake of hitting a 5-pound heavier deadlift, just because that's what you want to hit and you can see some utility in that for your life, that becomes much more fulfilling. And this reminds me of when I first started in the gym. This is what I was obsessed with. Like I was on a bulk at the time. And so the people that go to the gym, they understand that like when you're bulking, especially like an uninformed bulk, where I was putting on more fat than necessary, like I stopped caring about my looks. I was in the gym because I wanted to get strong. I wanted to hit that 5-pound extra on my bench press. And there's some crossover there where like maybe I was doing that so my lifting partner would think higher of me. But overall, that's far more in your control, and you can kind of create the boundaries around that, or you can create and have full control over the game that you are playing and full control over where your focus is. So step number 4, and this has been a big theme for me lately, at least in what I talk about in my content, is to self-educate after you start. After you start. I'll repeat that again. Educate or learn after you start. So the first thing we do here is start on the fundamentals. Start doing the fundamentals. So if you want to grow a social media audience, then you need 3 tweets a day, 1 thread a week. You need to network with other people. And if you want to make money, then you need to spend 30 to 60 minutes writing out a digital product, or you need to create a service offer and reach out to 10 people a day to sell that offer. Or if you're selling it on social media, then you need to promote yourself once a day under your content and make sure that your content is getting seen by other people. So then once you have those down, it's kind of, wouldn't you think it useless to study a tactic? So let's say, oh, use this freelancing client acquisition tactic to 10x the amount of clients you get, but you're just starting out and you don't even know if your offer is good. That's not going to help you. That's just going to it may help you a little bit, especially after you start and after you've maybe landed one client and know that your offer can convert more. But a majority of the time, people know what they need to do, they just don't do it. And then the purpose of self-educating with specific knowledge after you start is because you're going to learn the most when you struggle. That's when we learn the most in life, is when we go through a difficult point, we learn a lesson and we bounce back out of that rut. And so the same thing applies here, where you start at whatever you're doing, whether you're increasing your money or trying to make your relationships better or boost your self-esteem or boost your mental health, based on everything we've talked about previously. And your goal here is to fail. Your goal here is to hit a wall. So you struggle and you encounter a problem, so then you know exactly what to search, right? You're not just taking random courses. You're not just watching random YouTube videos, being stuck in tutorial hell. You have a very specific problem that you are trying to solve for yourself, so you can overcome that, learn the lesson, and make that one step or take that one climb up one rung of a ladder. So step number 5 is to block out 30 to 60 minutes a day. Now, a lot of you are familiar with the concept of deep work. Now, I want to bring a new perspective to this, because everyone wants to make money, so they associate deep work with like, oh yeah, I just need to knock out my work and get it done so I can make money, right? But this applies to any area of your life. How are you going to make a ton of progress in the money-making domain with deep work, but you don't apply that to other things? Do your relationships suffer simply because you don't block out time for deep work in that area of your life, right? What if it's with mental health? Are you blocking out an hour, 30 to 60 minutes for meditation or some kind of fundamental strategy to help you make progress in that domain? Or are you only setting an intention like, yeah, I want to make my mental health better, but then not blocking out time to work on that exclusively and make a burst of intense progress within that time, like you would apply to something where you're making money, right? You need to apply that principle to every area of your life that you want to improve. And I mean, you don't have to do it exactly that way, but that is how you're going to do it best. And that's how you're going to make time, make it a habit, and consistently show up and actually make progress. So number 6 is immerse yourself in the content of that goal. So this is why I'm big on deep work, is that what we're trying to do here is we're trying to fill the contents of our consciousness with one thing, right? So an example of this, if you want your relationships to be better, then when you are interacting with that other person, you have to fill your attention with them. All 5 senses. What are they saying? How do they look? What are their emotions? How do they feel? All of that other stuff. And this is flow state, right? In a sense, where you are one with the activity. You are absorbed in the goal that you are pursuing, and this just has so many benefits that I'm not even going to go over in this video. And then step number 7 is a moment of recognition. So none of this is going to come easy, right? When you are pursuing a goal in a lagging area of your life to improve it and you're blocking out time, you're really trying out here, you're focusing all of your attention on that goal, there's going to be times where a distraction registers in your awareness. If you're approaching a girl because you want to improve your relationships and you're walking up and you're like, okay, got to focus all my attention and like immerse myself in the content of the goal, there's going to be a distraction. There's going to be a thought where it's like you're going to second guess yourself. You're going to be like, oh no, what if she says this? What if she says that? Right? All it takes is a moment of recognition, recognizing that. Or if you're, let's say, trying to improve your health, this is like a universal principle where if you're deep in, or you're pulling up a deadlift and you get halfway and it starts to fall and you're like, oh, like I'm going to fail this, I'm going to fail. That is a distraction. That is taking you away from the goal that you were trying to achieve, and you need to recognize that and power through it because it's just a thought. So step number 8 is put in the metaphorical reps, because consistency is king, whatever you want to put it, but focus itself is a muscle. Everything is a muscle. We've talked about this. Your deep work sessions are you putting in the metaphorical reps to get better at this thing. Muscle doesn't build in 5 seconds. It builds after hundreds of thousands, if not millions of reps over 5 to 10 years. right? This is the same with business. This is the same with relationships. This is the same with any of this. You have to consistently do things, hit a wall, improve, and continue building that muscle of life. So those were all 8 steps to reclaiming your focus. If you enjoyed this video, I feel like you may enjoy the new course, the 2-Hour Writer. If you're looking for a good skill, fundamental skill to learn in the digital economy or freelancing or whatever you want to do, there's also Modern Mastery, which is a community of people building, selling things on the internet, improving their health, just doing everything mastery related. There's some free guides like my Power Planner or my Creative Output Challenge. There's a bunch of stuff in the description, so check that out. Remember to like, subscribe, and whatever people say at the end of the YouTube videos. I deeply appreciate you watching. Peace.